Thank you, dear Madam Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. Special thanks to this young boy or girl. I really like this, hello, because this is the next generation and I really like this style of our communication. Very European one. And who knows? I'm definitely, then when he would be 18, Ukraine would be the member of European Union. That's why he's quite symbolic for staying here. And I'm proud enough that on all stages of my reform of Ukraine, we have a very strong support of our Norwegian partners. From the very first moment, immediately, I was elected as a president, we have very strong messages from Norway, that Norway support our sovereignty, Norway's support of our territorial integrity, of our independence, of our democracy, of our freedom. And we hear this word of support not only during the visit of the Madam Prime Minister to Kiev, but many times on the summit of NATO, when Ukraine now is permanently present. And the Commission Ukraine-NATO has a all support of all the member states. This is the very strong stimulus for Ukraine to be united and motivated, and stimulus for reform. I would like to join the Madam Prime Minister in welcoming the participant of the Norwegian Ukrainian Business Forum and my sincere gratitude to the organizers for informing us about today's important deliberation of how strengthen trade, economic and investment cooperation between Ukraine and Norway, Kingdom of Norway, because I'm just returned from meeting of His and Her Majesties, and he also demonstrated a very, very strong level of support of the 45 million Ukrainian nation. I would also like to thank Prime Minister for her objective assessment of the potential of our bilateral economic relation. In every single sphere, we very attentively discussed today all the spheres starting from the fish processing and finishing from the energy distribution sphere, from the energy saving project and finishing our cooperation in a startup in the IT sector. And by the way, me is very proud, and Madam Prime Minister is very proud that such a big numbers of Ukrainian working in the Norwegian IT sector, and we agreed that we launch a special startup project in Kiev, in our technological park, starting with the Kiev Polytechnical Institute. I think this is a very promising steps which is undertaken as a result of today's visit of Ukrainian delegation. By results of 2015, Norway ranks 13 in terms of bilateral trade between Ukraine and European Union countries, taking 2.5 of whole trade turnover with the European partners. Unfortunately, I have to admit that we have decreasing trend in our bilateral trade, and that's why it is a high time and a high place now to discuss what we can do to break this negative trend. At the same time, there are good reasons why I strongly believe in a very promising future of Ukraine-Norwegian trade and investment partnership. First, Ukrainian and Norwegian economy are, to a very large extent, complementary and mutually reinforced. Norway has a unique welfare state model. The country possessed advanced technologies, especially in the sphere of the renewable energy, and we have lots of the projects where we're waiting our Norwegian partners. It has a status of a net importer of the agricultural products. These and many other factors make Norway an extremely attractive partner to Ukrainian business. At the same time, Ukraine has a fast-growing consumer 45 million market. We are in the process of the comprehensive modernization of many traditional branches of the Ukrainian economy. Again, our IT sphere is the fastest growing among the European states. Ukraine is the worldwide well known for its agricultural sector and its highly educated population, its geographical proximity and low cost of the production make the country attractive for all the type of Norwegian business. All mentioned engaged more and more Norwegian companies to consider Ukraine as a new and promising opportunity. Second, already now we have a number of effective instruments and tools that facilitate economic cooperation between Ukraine and Norway. In particular, we have a free trade agreement between Ukraine and the European Free Trade Area states, and I believe that Ukrainian and Norwegian exporters should use more effectively all the opportunities and advantages of this agreement. Recently, Ukraine has applied to accede the regional convention of the Pan-Euro-Mediterranean preferential rules of origin. The full accession to it will be additional possibilities of preferential trade between Ukraine, EFTA countries, and EU states, taking into account the implementation of deep and comprehensive free trade agreement between Ukraine and European Union, which was launched from the 1st of January, year 2016. Third, and on my point of view, most importantly, today both Ukraine and Norway have a strong political will to create the condition for further fostering their bilateral trade and the investment cooperation. Just 2 weeks ago, before my visit, we successfully launched the activities of the Ukrainian Norwegian Commission on the trade, business and economic cooperation. And we expect that this commission will serve as a powerful driving force for strengthening our economic ties. And we have at our disposal a number of the proactive actors, both multilateral such as Nordic Environment Finance Cooperation and bilateral such as Norwegian-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. In Ukraine we have launched a program far-reaching reform. These are very difficult, painful transformation, but for the first time in the history of the independent Ukraine, they have already started and have already started to bring the results. Currently, all relevant indicators reflect the stabilization of the macroeconomic situation. I want to attract your attention. All the reform we do at the time of war, at the time when Ukraine is an object of the Russian aggression. And at the same time, we now break the negative trend and demonstrate the economic growth. First, in year 2016, after 4 years of the economic falls. We demonstrate macroeconomic stabilization, stabilization of the banking sector. In the February year 2015, our golden currency reserve was $5 billion. Today is $16 billion. I want to remind you, this is during the time of war. We should spend 5% of our GDP to the security and defense sector. And at the same time, we're keeping the budget deficit in the level of 3-4%. In year 2014, it was 14%. The level of the inflation is 1 digit. Last year, it was 43%. The rate of exchange is stable, taking into account raising the golden currency reserve. Another figures. In year 2010, Ukraine, in the rating of doing business of the World Bank, has 147 place. 147. Today, it is place 83. Am I happy enough? Not at all. And I'm promising that we will be in the top 50. And this is not a promising, this is already delivering the results. What was before the symbol of the corruption? State procurement. 5, 6, 7, 10% financing the corruption in Ukraine. What we will do in less than 1 year, introducing the new electronic procurement system ProZorro. I was proud that I was launching this process. and First Deputy of the Minister of Economic and Economic Development and Trade, Madam Kovalev. She is today, and it seems to me she has a floor today. Yulia, could you rise up the applause? And then these young people and this young my team introduce an absolutely new state procurement system with a zero level of corruption. This is not only that we punish the corruption with a new anti-corruption infrastructure like a Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor Office and National Anti-Corruption Bureau, with the absolutely restructuring the Secret Service and the introducing the new police. Police, which before the reforming has a 3% level of trust of the people. As I all the time repeating, this is the member of the police and member of their families. Anybody else to trust the police. Now it is more than 60% support the new police, which do not take in the bribes. And I'm really proud and happy that we introducing the very ambitious reform in the sector of rule of law. What was the main problem of the investor? That despite of the very strong and difficult regulation system, they cannot defend their right in the independent court system. Why? Because independent court system simply not exist. And only 3% of Ukrainians trust the court. How can countries survive with this level of figures? And now I introduce the very ambitious constitutional changes. And I thank to the parliament and to the government that they support me, and we voted these constitutional changes and I signed it. And from the 1st of October they launch the very special program which never happened nowhere in the world. In one moment we remove all the judges from Supreme Court and from High Court. And we introduce new competition for invite in the most transparent procedure, 200 new judges. After the polygraph, after very analyzing electronic declaration, after professional test, and we're building up in one moment the new court system where investor can trust and defend their own interest. We increased capital investment during this year for 9.3%. We also control the current account deficit, decreased significantly. In the year 2015, it was 9%. Today is below 3%. This is the exact signal for the macro stabilization of the economy. For the year 2017, government of Ukraine forecast GDP growth of 3%, while the budget deficit, again, shall not exceed 3% GDP. Those figures are fact confirmed by the International Monetary Fund, and that was first time in our history we received third consecutive tranche of IMF, fulfilling all the program of reform which was agreed with the IMF and the World Bank. This is a green light for all the investors. Achieved macroeconomic stabilization is backed by reform aiming to the long-term impact. The deep structural reform of the banking sector served as an example. It was around 180 active banking institutions in Ukraine before the crisis. Currently, more than 80 of problematic and pocket non-transparent banks which use different unclean schemes are liquidated. It's already happened. And banking systems start to be transparent. Half of the bank, non-transparent, problematic, liquidated in 18 months. Another important example is energy reform. Can you imagine that 18 months ago, maybe 24 months ago, the level of the deficit of the state-owned NAK Naftogaz was 120 billion hryvnia, which was financed from the state budget. Do you know what today deficit of the NAK Naftogaz? Zero. This is the level of the transparency of our energy reform. And additionally to that, we reach energy independence from Russia. 24 years, Ukraine was on hook of Russia gas supply, and every October of every November, we start to discussing that Russia close supply of natural gas to Ukraine, providing blackmailing and organizing the political pressure. And I'm proud that in the year 2015, when Russia traditionally closed the gas supply, we asked our Norwegian partner, Statoil, why don't you supply? Why don't you supply natural gas to us? And the most reliable supplier, Norway, supply gas throughout the whole winter of 2015-2016. And I was proud that in April, the Russian called us and said, why don't you buy some Russian gas? And we said, no, we are happy with the Norwegian. And 1.5 years we survived without one single cubic meter of Russian gas. Not because we are against of anybody, but we do not allow anybody anymore to use the gas as the instrument of the political pressure to my country. That's why the support of Norway, of Ukraine, not only by declaration for supporting of our sovereignty and territorial integrity, but be shoulder to shoulder with us in this very difficult energy, blackmailing us, we together with them creating energy security, energy independence, energy diversification, and now we are much stronger. Much stronger, because when, again, in the year 2013, our turnover with Russia, part of Russia in our total trade balance, was 33%. Do you know now what is it? 8%. Not because of Ukraine. Because trade relation with Russia, they use as an element of the hybrid war. Closed completely their market from supply of Ukrainian producers. They think that the unemployment, that falling of GDP would be deathful for the Ukrainian state. No. Why? Because we find out a new market in the European Union. Much more reliable, much stronger. Of course, they demand investment in the modernization, but this is exactly what we are looking. And by the way, this is exactly why we are here, together with you, because we're waiting now the very professional, very reliable, very open investors from Norway to participate in our huge privatization process. Одесский припортовый завод, we're waiting the investor from Norway. Energy distribution system, we're waiting in Norwegian investor. Energy generation system, please welcome. And I promise that this privatization would be as much transparent and as much competitive as possible. The same way like we do it when we organize the competition for selling the 3G frequencies for the communication operator. Can you imagine that I was elected as a president, it was a little bit more than 2 years ago, we don't have a 3G communication system. We were living in the 20th century. And we provide the most transparent auction. All the operator was extremely happy because of the transparency. And now within 1.5 years, we build up this system. And I'm definitely sure that we can provide and guarantee the security also. Not because me, my team, and Ukrainian people, together with the volunteers, build up one of the most effective Ukrainian army who can defend our territorial integrity and sovereignty in a cooperation with our partners. But also that we reform security and defense sector under NATO standard. By the way, another fact which will be interesting. When I was elected as a president, I have a phone call from the Minister of Defense. I sent the group of advisors of NATO to cooperate with the Minister of Defense, and we have an answer, no. Under the law, they prohibit to enter to the Minister of Defense. Why? Because this is a NATO advisor. Prohibit. And today we provide an approved strategic defense bulletin, which is a roadmap to reform our security and defense sector. This is not only about the armed forces. This is also about law enforcement agency, to raising up their effectiveness and raising up the security inside the country. And I think that also the reform of the decentralization. Now the local community has an opportunity to increase their budget 3 times under the war. By increasing the security and defense sector financing, they increased the local budget from 80% to 140% within 18 months. And this is they have a huge instrument to spending for road construction, for lighting, for energy saving. Dear our Norwegian partners, you are welcome. Together with the investing in our energy sector. This is the establishing of the effective regulation is our goal in our deregulation reform. Over the past 2 years, we have reduced the number of the permits more than 40%, from 143 to 84. And before end of the first quarter of the year 2017, it would be below 40. We have reduced the number of the business activities subject to licensing by 46%. We have eliminated the compulsory registration of the foreign investment and simplified registration of the medicine at all. If they are registered in Norway, they don't need registration in Ukraine. What for we need? Difficult the registration procedure. We trust our Norwegian partner and European partner and American partner. Very simple. We have massively deregulated our agriculture. Agribusiness has saved 7 billion hryvnia per year only for the certification procedure. And what was the results? Now we have a 3 consecutive year, the record level crop. And by the way, the record level export, which help us to improve our national currency and golden currency reserve. We have introduced 16 e-services for business, license for construction, license for conduction of foreign trains, and many others. We have adopted a strategy of a technical regulation which brings us closer to European and international system. And I want to attract your attention. We cancelled about 15,000 out-of-date Soviet technical standard and introduced European standard. Very simple. You do not re-registration if you work already in the European Union or Norway. Though much remains to be done, a great deal has already been achieved. Ukraine has risen, as I told you, in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business rating. And dear friends, as you can see, Ukraine unhesitatingly step into the road from the macro-financial recovery to the economic growth and switching from the policy of survival to the strategic of development. Again, I want to attract your attention. We do that spending such a big money on the security and defense sector. And that's why I'm proud of my nation, that within such a difficult period of time, they keep united. More than 70% of Ukrainians support European integration. I doubt that in Norway we have the same figures. Or maybe I doubt that in any European countries we have the same figures. That's why Ukraine is the most European optimistic nation in European Union. But by the way, today we agreed with the Madam Prime Minister that we very seriously analyze their experience for the cooperation with the European Union being not a member state. This is very interesting for us. I have rumors that it is also very interesting for the British. But we would be number first in that situation and create the structure. In other words, Ukraine have passed bottom of the crisis. This is the best time for entering the new promising market and for the developing of the existing project. In these terms, security of the investment in Ukraine is extremely important issue. Fighting against corruption, guaranteeing rule of law, protection of the investment are the elements of it. I told you about the constitutional amendment of the judiciary. I told you about the real delivery we already have in our fighting against corruption when our General Prosecutor Office, our National Anti-Corruption Bureau is easily arresting ministers, easily arresting members of parliament, easily arresting governors of the region. That is the demonstration of the complete independence from the political pressure. Nobody has an umbrella if you are a corruptionist. And with that situation, we are definitely proud that it's bringing already the effective results. Today, we are promoting the new culture of the relation between the government and with society based on the principle of the zero tolerance of the corruption. We are proud that for years, our energy system was the Klondike for the corruption. Today, we have EU-oriented reform in this sphere with the effective cooperation with our Norwegian partners. My ambition is to free every single sphere from the corruption. And I'm proud that Ukrainian NGO, Ukrainian people give me a significant support in this process. Our international partners recognize our efforts and first results of the anti-corruption reform. As I told you, the European Commission, when we have a visa liberalization plan, has 144 points of the reform, starting from the biometrical passport, which we don't have before, and finishing with the integrated system for the border management, starting from the creation of the new anti-corruption infrastructure, and finishing with the reform in the business sector. They have an assessment mission. And it would be very interesting for you to read this assessment report. Ukraine fulfill all 144 points or key points for which we promised to reach. The same way like our cooperation with IMF, the same way which our special program with the United States, which was connected with the $1 billion loan guarantee, which we already received because we fulfilled everything. This is the demonstration of very strong political will of my team. We already demonstrate reforming my country, because from the very first day of my presidency, I said war is not the reason for not fulfilling reform. And today I'm proud that every single week, not months, but week, we open new factories from, I don't know, Sumitomo or Fujikuri from Japan, from company from Korea, I'm sure that from company from Norway in a very near future. And I think that it is clearly shows that our assessment of the progress and the strategies to develop of my country is absolutely clear. Dear friends, this year we observed how investors opened themselves to the Ukrainian market and used the opportunity to develop their production in our country. I personally took part in the number of the solemn opening ceremony launching the industrial cargo complex of American company Bunge in Mykolaiv seaport, the biggest investment of Bunge in Europe, equaling more than $280 million, opening the ceremony of lighting capsule of the construction site of Nexan plant, manufacturing on-board electrical network. It is third plant of this French company in Ukraine, which is investing in a very short period of time. And I do hope that someday to be present open ceremony and the enterprise of the all 27 member states of European Union plus Norway. We are open and invite you to expand your business operation in Ukraine. We create a new body, the National Investment Council, and I introduce my former chairman of my presidential administration, Boris Loshkin, as a secretary of this National Investment Council, and we invite today the Norwegian business to participate in this council and to have together with us to join our team for reform in my country. We see the council as a platform for high-level dialogue with the top global business leaders with the main objective of identification, discussion, and proposal for the solution of the key impediments to invest in Ukraine. let me assure you that we have a strong political will to do our best in order to protect foreign investment in Ukraine and create all the necessary preconditions for further improvement of the business climate in my country. I would like to conclude my remarks by reiterating my strong belief in the future of the partnership between Ukraine and Kingdom of Norway and my determination to support the development of this partnership. And I'm proud to see here such a big number of Ukrainian students. I'm definitely sure that they return back to Ukraine, and that would be my very strong team. By the way, bring a little bit of Norway's boys and girls to be together to create the very effective team. Because if you come to Norway, certainly you fall in love with Norway and bring in your heart a significant part of Norway back to Ukraine. But if you come to Ukraine, you fall in love with Ukraine, undoubtedly. And this is the feeling how close is our nation. And I am fully convinced that supporting Ukraine today, you will also invest in Europe, you invest in Europe future, you invest in Europe security tomorrow. Thank you very much indeed. І слава Україні!